ओम तपनोडुपलोचनाय नमः। ओम यमसंयुतसत्कीर्तये नमः। ओम यमसंयुताय नमः। ओम यतिरूपधराय मौनिने नमः। ओम दतीन्द्रोपास्य विग्रहाय नमः। ओम मंदारहाररुचिराय नमः। ओम मदनायुतसुंदराय नमः। ओम मंदस्मितलसत्वक्त्राय नमः। ओम मधुराधरपल्लवाय नमः। ओम मंजीरमंजुपादाब्जाय नमः। ओम मणिपट्टोलसत्कटये नमः। ओम हस्तांकुरितचिन्मुद्राय नमः। ओम हठयोगपरोत्तमाय नमः। ओम हंसजप्याक्षमालाढ्याय नमः। ओम हंसेद्वाराध्यपादुकाय नमः। ओम मेरुशृङ्गतटोल्लासाय नमः। ओम मेघश्याममनोहराय नमः। ओम मेधाङ्कुरालवालाग्र्याय नमः। ओम मेधापक्वफलद्रुमाय नमः। ओम धार्मिकान्तर्गुहावासाय नमः। ओम धर्ममार्गप्रवर्तकाय नमः। ओम धामत्रयनिजारामाय नमः। ओम धर्मोत्तममनोरथाय नमः। ओम प्रबोधोद्गारदीपश्रिये नमः। ओम प्रकाशितजगत्र्याय नमः। ओम प्रज्ञाचन्द्रशिलाचन्द्राय नमः। ओम प्रज्ञामणिवराकराय नमः। ओम ज्ञानान्तरभासात्मने नमः। ओम ज्ञातज्ञातिविदुर्गाय नमः। ओम ज्ञानज्ञातद्वैतदिव्यांगाय नमः। ओम ज्ञातज्ञातिकुलागताय नमः। ओम प्रपन्नपारिजाताग्र्याय नमः। ओम प्रणतार्थप्तिवाडवाय नमः। ओम भूतानां प्रमाणभूताय नमः। ओम प्रपंचहितकारकाय नमः। ओम यत्तत्त्वविसंवेद्याय नमः। ओम यक्षगेयात्मवैभवाय नमः। ओम यज्ञादिदेवतामूर्तये नमः। ओम यजमानवपुर्धराय नमः। ओम छत्राधिपतिविश्वेश्वाय नमः। ओम छत्रसामरसेविताय नमः। ओम छन्दशास्त्रादिनिपुणाय नमः। ओम चलजात्यादिदूरगाय नमः। ओम स्वाभाविकसुखैकात्मने नमः। ओम स्वानुभूतिरसोदतये नमः। ओम स्वाराज्यसम्पदध्यक्षाय नमः। ओम स्वात्माराममहामतये नमः। ओम हाटकाभजटाजूटाय नमः। ओम हासोदस्तारिमण्डलाय नमः। ओम हालाहलोज्ज्वलग्गलाय नमः। ओम हार्दग्रन्थिविमोचकाय नमः। ओम श्रीमेधादक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम श्री दयानंद सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम श्री महेशानंद सद्गुरवे नमः। So we'll do meditation. Okay. स्मरामि यदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वं सच्चित्सुखं परमहंसगतिं तुरीयं यत् स्वप्नजागर सुषुप्ति यदक्षितमवैति नित्यं तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः. I meditate upon the meaning of this shloka, which is the meaning of Om. I meditate upon the essential message of this shloka and Om. The message is this: I am not a human being with consciousness. In fact, it is just the opposite. I am consciousness Brahman Chit Swarupam. I am consciousness in the form of a human being. In this regard, I meditate upon the unfolding of Om in the Shastra, beginning with the Upanishad and its commentaries. The essential message of Mandukya is: I am consciousness in the form of a human being. I meditate upon the meaning of this in the form of a human being. I meditate upon what does that really mean. this regard, Ishvara has given me very clear hints on understanding this fact. The fact is, I am consciousness in the form of a human being, not the other way around. Here, Ishvara has given us very clear hints in the form of an understanding of Om. As the Omkara is revealed, the meaning of Omkara is revealed, and I match it to my own experience, I find the following. I find that I am someone before the dream experience. And then I have the dream experience. I was not in the form of a dream at first. I'm not a dreamer. I have no dreamt experience, but then I have it. I become the dreamer. I take the form of a dream person. And then I am no longer a dreamer. So I am a person that takes the form of the dream as though it is acting in some kind of a drama or a movie. But the dream and the experience of the various things in the dream has no effect on me. This is a very clear hint given by my Creator, Ishvara. And the words of Ishvara in the form of Mandukya and other Upanishads reveal the truth that just like I am a person who takes the form of a dreamer, and like acting in a movie or a drama, it has no effect on me once I leave the dream. Similarly, I meditate upon the message of this shloka, Pratasmarami, and the message of Om, that before taking this human form in this life, I was just consciousness as a person. Consciousness as a person, not as a property, as a person. Chit Swarupaha, Brahman. And now I have taken the form of a human being. Just like the dream, even when I was dreaming, I did not give up my own person, Chit Swarupaha. The dream was just a role in a drama, a superimposition upon the person. Similarly, I meditate upon the message of Ishvara, that I am consciousness alone. There is no change in who I am. I had nothing to do before I took this human form in this life. No connection to it. And I still remain the same. It is not as though I have become the human being. I play the role of this life. I remain consciousness. And the end of this life will have no effect on me. I will be ready to play another role, perhaps. Or if I can see the truth of this shloka, the truth of the unfoldment of Om, right in this life while I am playing this role, I can see that I am independent of the role. There will be no need to play another role. Pratarsmarami, I recollect in the morning upon waking up, Hridi samspuradatmatattvam, in my own heart, in my own buddhi, I see the truth of this. That separate from all the roles, Sushuptam avaiti satyam, avaiti nityam, tad brahma nishkalamaham, nacha bhuta sangaha. I remain as the consciousness, not this human body. This meditation I should do again and again, and slowly this fact will become apparent to me, will become truthful to me. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Smriti-Puranam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad-padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः उकारस्त्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्तन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुर्विद्यते सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Let's just do Mandukya verse number 12. Amatras chaturtho vyavaharyaha. And then we will go to the karika that we will be studying today, number 27. So number 12 and number 27. Amatras chaturtho vyavaharyaha. Amatras chaturtho vyavaharyaha. Prapanchopashamaha. Shivodvaita eva monkaraha. Shivodvaita eva monkaraha. Atma eva samvishati. Atmaneva samvishati. Atmana atmanam ya evam veda. Atmana atmanam ya evam veda. Number 27. Or even do number 26 also first. 26 and 27. Pranavo hyaparam brahma. Pranavo hyaparam brahma. Pranavascha parav smritaha. Pranavascha parav smritaha. Apurvo nantaro bahyaha. Apurvo nantaro bahyaha. Anaparaha pranavo vyayaha. Anaparaha pranavo vyayaha. Sarvasya pranavo hyadihi. Sarvasya pranavo hyadihi. Madhyamantas tathaiva cha. Madhyamantas tathaiva cha. Evam hi pranavam jnatva. Evam hi pranavam jnatva. Vyashnute tadanantaram. Vyashnute tadanantaram. So in understanding the Omkara, we should remind ourselves about how a person learns. And for those of you that have grandchildren, this is a great way for us to observe how they learn. And you can, even if you don't have grandchildren, if you're not married or anything, you can see how the children learn. And how they learn is this. First, they hear what is to be learned. Even some simple instructions. Some milk or blanket or something like this. So they just learn the words and they have no connection to what they're learning. They're just hearing it, number one. Secondly, then, and this can be seen more in a new language. When the child learns a new language, you first hear the new language, but you have no idea about how to master it. So number one. Then the next thing is that you put your mind to learning it. And for those of us, for example, that are learning, the Devanagari for Sanskritam, you'll see this. You then a, and then ka, kha, all the elements of it, and so on and so forth. And then you start using it. You become devoted to learning it. For those of you that are learning Sanskritam, for example, it's not easy. You really need to have a devotion towards learning. There must be a purpose for it. And then slowly it grows on you. And after that, you become adept at it. It becomes like in English now, I don't know when each one of us learned English, but we slowly become adept at it. Now we don't even think about it as a language, we just use it. So really speaking, in that manner, so this is how children learn. And we should recollect it, because this is how we need to learn the language of the truth about ourselves. So the first stage is, so one thing we should see is that just like a child is born, and to become fully functional, it has to go through these steps. And then after, when you become like 6 or 7 years of age and you kind of master a language, so to speak, you're pretty much done. There's nothing else that you need to do. Very similar to that is the spiritual introduction. This should be seen very clearly, and we will, I'm building you the background for this. So, the spiritual introduction means that I am really a child. Even though I may be 60, 40, 70, 80 years old, or 50 or 40, whatever it is, and I'm a functioning human being with an adult life and so on, when it comes to spiritual learning means the truth about myself, what is going on, because I have made a mistake. I'm not accounting for all of the aspects about myself. I'm just taking partially and getting on with it somehow in my life. But if I really want to get to the truth about myself, this is what we call spiritual learning, then the spiritual learning takes the same form as the child's learning of a simple language. There's no difference. This we should be very clear about. And so this answers all the doubts that I have, that I've been learning this, and when am I going to feel this, and there are questions about the experience and the fact that I'm a jnani, and so on and so forth. When is that going to happen, and so on and so forth. So this should be very clear that these are the steps that we have to do. The steps we have to do is that first you are told the fundamentals of what is Atma, what is Anatma, what is Mithya, because it was not necessary for me, in order to live a successful life, to know all these nuances. But if I want to take the next step, which is the final step of as a human being, then I need to learn this. And the learning process is no different than a learning process of a child. And so there we say that first you learn the basics of what is, and here the Mandukya does, it's almost like a final understanding of the elements of what this is. The final understanding means that, listen, you should, all said and done, you should see your life as consisting of 3 roles that you play. Jagrata avastha, swapna avastha, sushupti avastha. And that you are none of those. You are not any one of those, you are just playing a role. So this is what Mandukya very clearly summarizes for you. All the other Upanishads say the same thing. Panchakosha Viveka, you see different as Kena Upanishads, Taittiriya Upanishad, Katha Upanishad. But this is all summarized in the crux of this. This is what we finally have to come to by the Mandukya Upanishad. So at this point in time, in understanding the very basics of who we are and what stages we go through, the Mandukya gives us the introduction. This is just a start. Then, because now there is a disconnect, because right now you're just learning some bookish knowledge, you know, that you have this, and more than that. I mean, we have already been studying it for a while, but still it doesn't seem truthful to me. Now you have to apply it to your own life and see that what the book says, what Mandukya says, is really the truth about myself. This you have to see slowly. And in doing so, one of the important things is that you see that this is a very purposeful creation by Ishvara. So it's not as though you are going your own way, trying to get some books and attending classes and so on, and Ishvara is somewhere, don't know where he is, not clear about it. It's not like that. Really, this is the structure of learning. You are learning about Ishvara and yourself as you do this. So Ishvara is front and center, waiting for you. And so the first thing you have to do is to be clear that you're not alone. You are part of this beautiful process to gain the ultimate. Paratma, Paramajiva, not Jivatma, but Paramatma. This is the ultimate. This is the big prize that we are all seeking for. So this is a big structure and a very purposeful process. And as you begin to this is exactly like you have to be very dedicated to learning a language. And you have to develop a love for it. It should no longer be something which is a burden on you. Like learning Sanskrit also, for example. In the beginning it might seem very difficult, but as you begin to see the structure, the interconnections of words, sentences, meanings, you develop a love for it. You should develop a love for it. If you don't, then you should give it up. Then please just go back to some filmy music and so on and so forth. But if in fact the profundity of the language presents itself to you, then the progress is made by developing a certain love and affection for it. This is an important thing. You cannot really master a language like Sanskrit, especially something like Latin and all these kinds of difficult languages, until you develop, you go through the discipline of learning, and then it becomes part of you. So now the reason we say that, I went through this whole thing, that the learning structure is no different. This is what is presented by Gaudapada. And we have done this, and now we will go into more detail. In 26 he says, Pranavo hi aparam brahma. And Pranava hi parasmritaha. the same pranava by understanding the meaning of pranava, which is omkara. You develop an introduction to both apara brahma and parabrahma. And apara brahma, which is also called saguna brahma, means the whole structure, the system, that you are not alone. You have to do this. You have to slowly grow into it. It takes time. Because in the beginning, what is Ishvara? And these are like just words. But then you begin to see that your life is really part and parcel of a larger structure, and that you just have to follow through. And then as you develop a certain appreciation for the presence of Ishvara in your life and how your life is structured and all of that, you develop a certain respect and some love for it. So this is what is called, here Swami Maheshananji has given this beautiful example. So this is what will be called Brahma, which is Dhyeya Brahma. Dhyeya means Dhyana Yogya, means that it is really appropriate for your prayers, for your upasana. So this is what Vedas also, sometimes we only oversimplify and say that Vedas has only two parts, which is Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. In fact, it has three parts, which is Karma Kanda, Upasana Kanda, and Jnana Kanda. And sometimes, because Upasana is also mental karma, we just club it with karma. So which is okay. We can say this is Karma Kanda, whereas Jnana Kanda. But really, if you peel the onion a little bit, there's also an Upasana Kanda. So an Upasana Kanda means that there are ways to develop your prayerful attitude. And so, a understanding of the Omkara should develop a prayerful attitude, because you see the structure of the human being. How repeatedly we go through these three movies every 24 hours. One that should really develop a certain, my goodness, I wasn't aware of this. We just go to sleep and then we dreams and so on. It's more than that. It's very profound. Very profound. And the interesting thing is that you do this without losing your own essential nature, which is that of a consciousness. As a consciousness, you become completely unaware of what's happening in the life as sushupti. As consciousness, you leave what is happening in your life and become a dreamer. And as consciousness, you go back to playing a larger dream-like role. This keeps happening every three of them in every 24 hours. Not by accident, very purposely defined, for you to then develop the understanding of Parabrahma. So this is Apara Brahma. So Swami Maheshananji says that Apara Brahma is Dhyeya. It is worth your devotion and your prayer and your love. And the same Brahma becomes Jnana Brahma. So Jnana means Jnana Yogya. And he points out that these are not two separate Brahmas. There's not like Apara Brahma here and Parabrahma here. It's the same Brahma which appears in two different forms. He gives a beautiful example. He says, if you look at a rose, a red colored rose, and you're not sure whether the red color rose is a paper rose. So you bring it close to see the aroma of it. And then you can tell this is indeed rose. So now look at this. This is the same rose is seen by your eyes as a red rose. And the same rose is taken as an aroma of rose through your nostrils and your nose. They're not two different roses, but there are two different aspects of it depending upon which instrument you employ for understanding it. So similarly here also, Apara Brahma is employed by your devotion, through your mind, your entire personality, your dedication, your feeling that I am doing something worthwhile. And it is necessary that you do that. The Vedanta is not like you just go through a book and say, okay, I do understand it. This is why it takes years of Swami Paramarthananda has been saying that really speaking, what it means is that you have to really turn around your life and make this learning a primary objective. Only then the secrets of this will reveal itself. Otherwise, it will just stay there. And say, okay, and Ishvara would like you to see this in this life itself, but there is no big problem. If you lose this life without understanding it, you always have another one. Not a big thing. Probably we have been doing this now for several lives. So it is not our first time, I'm pretty sure. And how long it takes, only Ishvara knows. Because he's got a full accounting of it as to what my karmas are, what my tendencies are, and so on and so forth. I don't. And so I'm purely dependent upon it, but it is going to happen. So the first thing I have to do is Dhyeya Brahma, which is Apara Brahma. And the same Brahman, just like the same rose, is seen through your nose and your aromatic instrument. The same one. There's nothing, there are two different aspects of it. And they all resolve into the same thing. So they're also Pranavohya. And so the exercising of Pranava, the exercising of Omkara, it does the same thing to you. So the first thing is you break down the Omkara into the three constituents. U, and Makara, as we saw. You relate it to your own experiences of the 24 hours. Jagrata Avastha, Sushupti Avastha, and Swapna Avastha, all of that. You do all of that. Then it should slowly develop a certain devotion, a certain understanding, a certain devotion, certain love for it. This is called Dhyeya Brahma. Then what will happen is, as you continue to do this, the message of Omkara will begin to seep into you. And this is where meditation, Nididhyasanam, becomes so important. And by the way, I am really enjoying the explanation by Swami Paramarthananda on the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which I'm taking. And I really, an understanding of the Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa and all these so on. He's done a marvelous job of it. Really revealed some new things that I had not really seen. And perhaps even in this class sometimes, or if you would like, you can just listen to some of the explanations of the Bhagavad Gita lectures that we are taking. I'm really there. I'm leaving Swami Maheshananji's and so on, and just focusing on Swami Paramarthananda's teaching. Very beautiful. And so there it just says that slowly you begin to see, this is the whole purpose of Nididhyasanam and so on. You begin to see the truth of it. And what is the truth of it? Which is the very message of Omkara, the message of Mandukya and so on. That you are the Turiya. You are not a Jagrat person or a dreamer. You are always a Turiya. But I don't see it. Because I was starting with the question of what is Turiya, the fourth one. So it is first introduced to you that it is a separate person. This is a very beautiful thing to see in life. I tell you, once you begin to get an insight into this, it will become just a... And what is the insight into this? That you are an independent entity apart from what you see yourself to be. What you see yourself to be is, I'm a father, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I'm a grandfather, and I'm a this, that, or the other, I'm so much old. This is what you see. And the very possibility that I am an independent person. So right now my idea of consciousness is all screwed up. It seems like this is a property of mine. You see, this is exactly what I was talking about in the meditation. That we begin with this faulty assumption that I'm a human being. This is what is definitely pakka. Don't mess with me. And you ask everybody, you ask what is the population of the human being. I think there's about 8 billion people in the world. Every one of them you go to and say, who are you? He says, I'm a human being. Everybody. So you say it's all, this is why they say that Vedanta is not democratic. It is not democracy. Not like let's just see would 99% of the people feel that I'm a human being, therefore I must be a human being. No. This is the amazing thing. Here Swami Maheshanji was giving this example actually. He says, Copernicus. So I don't remember the exact century he was born. He figured out something that the Hindus have known for millions of years, but independently he figured it out. This earth is not flat. And so then it was very interesting. Swami Maheshanji has given this example that he started to tell everybody. Now the church's message was that the earth is flat. Okay? So when he started talking, people went to the church elders and said, this is a crazy guy and we should get him arrested. So the Pope or whoever, they told him, you cannot do like this. This is against the church. He says, but this is the truth. He says, I don't care what you say is the truth. This is the truth that has been handed to us for millions of years, thousands of years. The fellow did not agree to it. So they jailed him. And he was in jail for like 14 or 15 years. Miserable condition. And his wife and family also said, give up those stupid ideas. You're suffering, you're making us suffer. So finally he called his jailer and he said, okay, release me. From now on, I'm just going to be teaching the earth is flat, the earth is flat. So so they said, okay, you'll make you a teacher and you have to say this to everybody. So he says, fine. So while he was teaching, under his breath, some people say, this is all false. Earth is flat. This is the situation. In Vedanta, we all feel that I'm a human being. And this is exactly exactly the situation. You please go out and go to some party right now and say, you know, we are not a human being. Just imagine the response that you will get. So don't do it. Don't be like Copernicus. Don't do it. Absolutely not. But the worst part is we also feel that if others also don't feel that I must be this. So this class becomes kind of like a strange, you know, it was just some words and so on, but the real life is that I'm a human being. So the whole devotion of this is that you first understand the structure of this, that you are the Turiya. And then to go through the process of Mananam, Shravanam, whatever you are able to muster, but do not lose sight of this fact. And so there, really there should be, as I think I mentioned in one of the recent, when I'm starting this course on Tuesday anyway, somewhere same thoughts. Ultimately, you need to have two people going forward, yourself and Ishvara. Two people. None of it is just like you want to wake up from it, and the person that wakes you up is Ishvara. And you don't take the help of your fellow beings because they are holding you back. You keep on playing the roles, whatever it is. Don't mess it up. Whatever you need to do, but keep this fact very much alive that I am something, I am Turiya in the form of a human being. This fact should be very well kept in mind. And if you do for a length of time, you will then see the Param Brahma as yourself. And so, as I was saying, it's a very beautiful thing. When you get a glimpse of this through repeated practices, through repeated devotion, that I am an independent person. This is what I started to say. I didn't quite finish this. So right now we have a screwed up thinking that I'm a human being with consciousness as one of my properties. This is exactly the mistake that we have to correct. In fact, you have to see that I am an independent person that is capable of taking the role of I'm capable of taking various roles. As a Jagrata Avastha, there also you take many roles. And as Swapna Avastha, you take many roles. So Shupti Avastha, you take no role, but you don't know what you are. But once you begin to see through meditation, through a very structured way of looking at this, that I am an independent person, then this is what is called Parabrahma, which is Gyeya Brahma, not Dhyeya Brahma. So this is what is being pointed out. So here, Swami Maheshananji has given a very beautiful illustration. And I think I mentioned that in my last class 2 weeks ago, but let me develop it a little bit more. So he was saying that any knowledge here means prama. Prama means a understanding of something as it is, not as it appears to be. This is called prama. Okay? This prama is generated from what is called pramanam. So pramanam means the means of generating prama. So like for example, the understanding that there is a person in the class is generated by your eyes. And you have complete faith in that, in your eyes. Because you can say, is someone there that class? He says, yes, I saw that person. So this is a prama which is generated by your eyes. Okay? Now, if you see something with the aid of something which is not perfect, then it is not prama. This is the illustration that Swami Maheshananji pointed out. He said that what happens is that because he comes from Varanasi, and originally he was he was from Marwar, and he studied in Calcutta. He was actually part of the Ramakrishna mission, and so on and so forth. And then he developed a understanding, and then he started in Varanasi, and then he also made a ashram in New Delhi, which I've been to several times because it is very close to where I live. So I've been there 2 or 3 times. Once I got to know Swami Maheshananji's teachings. And then his ashram now is in Mount Abu, which I've never been to, and I would like to one of these days, but I don't know when I will go. Anyway, so there are 3 places. Varanasi, just like Swami Dayanandji also had, Rishikesh, Coimbatore, and Sailorsburg. Similarly, Swami Maheshananji had Varanasi, New Delhi, Old Delhi actually. No, I think it is maybe New Delhi. It's very close to Mahatma Gandhi's Samadhi. It's on the same road. And it's in a dilapidated situation. It's not a very good looking ashram. When he first built it, it was in the outskirts. But then the whole city has taken over, and there's buses, and not a very pleasant place to live anyway. And then Mount Abu. These are the 3 places. So what he said was that when we were first, because then the Swamis, they make sure that the new ochre clothes match the ochre color as they would like it. And it's all done by, taking a white cloth and putting the right color on it and so on. This is how they are done. Nowadays, of course, there must be a big industry. But he says we used to do it ourselves. So he said that when we would do it in Varanasi, it was out in the open. And the colors were very accurate. But he says what we found was that when we did it in Delhi, it was inside a closed room, in a bathroom somewhere, where there was no natural lights, and every color was influenced by the bulb. Sometimes it is a good bulb, sometimes it is a bad bulb, and so on. He says the colors were completely different. So he says, here's the same situation. What that means is that the color is influenced by some outside agency like a bulb. Very similarly is that if your understanding of yourself is influenced by your own thoughts that are not well trained, you will not have an accurate picture of yourself. In fact, this is why they say that you have to listen to a competent teacher in order to see the words about who you really are. And that means that it is the accurate light which gives you Shabda Pramanam. Shabda Pramanam. Because all other Pramanams like eyes and ears are inadequate, not allowed to even reach the Atma. They are not meant to reach the Atma. It's not as though, and we keep on looking for it. This is our biggest problem in life. That I can only visualize myself as a formful being. I cannot visualize myself as a formless being. So I keep looking for it somewhere as an experience. This is why they say experiential knowledge is faulty. Because you will always see yourself as a, now I am happy. Now I am happy is not knowledge. The word now should not be there. My nature is happiness. This has to be clear. And this is only done by a right kind of teaching and so on. So what he's saying is that here, let me now pick up the actual understanding of this one. So, number 27, he says, so remember this is Gaudapada now explaining in the Karika what the Upanishad means by this. Sarvasya pranavo hi adihi madhyam antaha tatha evacha evam hi pranavam jnatva vyashnute tadanantaram. So the meaning of that is Pranava, this is Swami Paramarthananda's translation. Omkara is indeed the beginning, the middle, and the end of all. Having known Omkara, thus one certainly attains that Anantaram. So one of the meanings of this is, one of the ways of understanding this, one of the, I would say, a chinna. Chinna means one of how to tell that you understand this well. Is in meditation, which will probably do a structured meditation, which will take a long time, but I really like what Swami Paramarthananda has said in the sixth chapter, the understanding of the sixth chapter. So perhaps in this class, as I mentioned before, we might go through this. But anyway, just let me give you the gist of it. So the gist of that would be, and so the word Anantaram here is translated slightly differently by Swami Maheshananji, and I'll explain that in a minute. So what will happen is that if you are successful in knowing yourself through this process that we have been talking about, the learning process, of first getting the structure, then developing a love for it, and then slowly seeing the truth of that and then imbibing it through Nididhyasanam. The gist of that will be the following. If you are meditating and your overall conclusion is, I am here now at this place. You have not fully understood. If you understand, if you see, you have to use words carefully. It's not like if you feel, it's not a feeling. But if you see this very clearly, which is a feeling, of course, but it's more than that. You see the truth of this, that I just am. I am not here at this time. This will come. I just am. Then you will no longer feel constrained to be at a particular place. And you will see that you will be sarvagata. So the Anantaram's meaning by Swami Maheshananji is sarvagatatvam. Sarvagatatvam means one which is present at all times, everywhere. And in fact, that person, that Turiya, that Brahman, which is you, has no movement. No movement at all. No movement. So this is what the Karika is saying. That you will say, this is exactly like what we began the class with. That you will find that you are an independent person who has capability of playing a role. You see the distinction very clearly. And as you see that, you find that that Brahman, that Turiya, is Anantaram. There is no end to it. Because it is the very nature of yourself. And yet, if you are working, talking, whatever, that does not disturb. This is the understanding that will come from slowly growing into this. This is the learning process that you have to do. And so, in number 27, he says, Sarvasya pranavo hi adihi. That really speaking, that the elements of pranava, which is u and makara, conforming to the padas and matras, he says it has an end into you, it has a beginning into you, and it has a middle into you, just like a dream. And if you know this, evam hi pranavam jnatva vyashnute tadanantaram. Vyashnute means you attain the sarvagatatvam. So this is just the this is explaining the learning process. So one should not feeling, when am I going to get it, this, that, or the other. You just keep going, and slowly you will find that you'll be able to see this. And if you do, then the switch over begins to happen. The switch over is, you are a human being with a consciousness. Switch over is, you are a consciousness with a human being nature. This is the explanation. So here, let's see if there are some other commentaries, some very beautiful commentaries on this. He says that one of the things he's saying is that whatever knowledge you have as Dhyeya Brahma, which is Apara Brahma, is not self-existing. So it is very vulnerable. So like for example, suppose you are becoming a very devoted to Ishvara and you are you're developing a love for it. This can go. This can go. Some things can happen in your life and your understanding of Ishvara can be very shaky. And also another thing that is that if you don't keep up this love, then your love for silly things will overcome you. And so it is not pakka. Dhyeya Brahma, Apara Brahma is not pakka. It's not pakka means it's not sure. It is not on solid grounds. But Jnaya Brahma, once you know, then this Swami Mahesh had given another example in a different book, not here. And I think I had mentioned it to you when I first saw that about 2-3 years ago. That really made a lot of sense to me. What he said was, remember that, if you may remember it, that suppose you go to a new place in the middle of the night. You go to a hotel, you just came in from an airport in the middle of the night and you are transported to a hotel. And you open the back window to see what the landscape looks like. And it's all dark. It's in the middle of the night, all the lights are off. It's complete darkness. Suddenly, there is a lightning. And in the lightning, which lasts like 2 or 3 seconds, you begin to see that this landscape is of this type. It's got some trees. There's no houses, only trees. That's it. And then the lightning goes and becomes dark again. So now what has happened is, if someone says, supposing you're on your phone with your spouse and say, honey, have you reached? Yes, where are you? I am in a hotel. And is this in the outskirts of a town? Yes, because I saw that there were a bunch of trees in the background. And then it becomes dark. Then what happens is, you wait for the morning sun to arrive to see the details about the background. Very similarly to that is the learning of Vedanta. When you come to a point where you get a small glimpse that I am an independent person. But soon after that, the darkness envelops you again. But now, no one can fool you. You know that you are an independent person means what? This is a very, it means that I am the very source of the joy. The joy is not coming from outside. It's coming, that's my nature. This is the and then slowly it just goes. But it is like lightning. Nothing more will, now you know what it is. Even though your life becomes chaotic, let's say, even. It won't become really true chaotic, but chaotic, but somewhat relatively. Why? Because you have glimpsed the nature of yourself. And all it then does is to redouble your efforts with a lot of Shravanam, lot of Mananam, lot of Nididhyasanam, which is like the morning sun. So the morning sun will make it pakka, dridham. It will make you very sure. But you already had a glimpse of yourself. If you don't yet have a glimpse of yourself, then you go back to Dhyaya Brahma, not Jnaya Brahma. Keep doing it. This is how the learning takes place. And this is what is being talked about here. One last thing I wanted to make sure. Yeah, there are several things to talk about. You know, one thing. This I should have finished this when I was talking about the color of the ochre clothes. That really speaking, the right color does not come until you're outside in the sun, because inside colors are very different. Okay, so this is something that Swamiji pointed out, which I need to communicate. He says, look at your situation today. And the situation is that I am bound. I feel bound, encapsulated. I am a limited being. This is my experience. But he says, now look at this. Why do you say you are limited? You know, supposing you go to a psychiatrist and say, what's your problem? And he says, I feel kind of limited. I'm not a happy person. So he says, why do you feel you're limited? Well, what reason will you give? What reason will you give? One reason is, my eyes say I'm limited. My ears say I'm limited. All the instruments that I have say I am limited. So the psychiatrist says, you're right. I'm also limited. I had not thought about it. So really speaking, so this is the thing. Here's the simile. Like you are seeing yourself through artificial eyes, through artificial means. Similarly, the color of the cloth is not accurate because you're seeing it through the artificial light. And I think I told you this, this I can never forget this. So when we graduated from Piercy, and when the final day arrived, and Swami Dayanandji, then we had a big feast, and he congratulated everybody, perhaps gave us some kind of a certificate and so on and so forth, which I think I still have. But I still remember his final words. He said, the moment, the day you cease to see yourself through your mind and your instruments of your body, you will be free. And those words resonate with me. He says, the day you will have a glimpse of yourself. The day when you would the day you will conclude clearly, this is who I am, without going through your mind and your sense organs, you'll be free. This is exactly the same thing as Swami Maheshananji is saying. He says, right now, if you analyze, your conclusion is, you feel, I don't feel well. Why? What's the problem? Why don't you feel well? Because my mind tells me I'm not well. So this we will explore again in the form of Bimba and Pratibimba. Bimba and Pratibimba, exactly the same thing. It says the different ways of looking at it. So the Pratibimba would be, you are looking at your own reflection in the mirror or and you are evaluating yourself in the way your Pratibimba is doing, that I don't feel good. This is exactly what is happening. This is what Swami Dayananji was saying. So when you look at yourself through the mind, but the mind is only important in order to follow the very Shabda Pramana of the teacher. The mind would be there, but it has to follow the truth about yourself. Anyway, so that's what he talked about this so beautifully. Then I think I have a couple of more minutes, and this has to. I haven't really quite finished. I think I'll probably do that next time. But there's one thing that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, there's quite a bit more to talk about. But here, one thing to point out is the meaning of the word vivarta. Vivarta versus parinama. So this I think you already know quite a bit, but let me remind you of it. So the vivarta and parinama. So the vivarta means the ability of something to take another form without giving up its own form. It's called vivarta. And parinama is the ability to transform yourself into a different form, but you lose your original form. So the example of a parinama is milk becoming a yogurt. It's called parinama. So here the milk loses its own. Once you become a yogurt, you cannot go back to milk. It's called parinama. And vivarta means a gold becoming an ornament, or a clay becoming a pot. This is called vivarta. You may take a different form, but really speaking, you have not taken a different form. So I think I'll go back to, once we have a proper setup with explaining through the television that Raj had set up for me, but I have not really used it. I think I'd like to. So the definition of vivarta is atatvataha anyata bhavaha. Atatvataha anyatha bhava. Anyatha bhava means a different forms. But the different form is atatvataha. It is not really the truth. It has not really justly become a different one. Whereas if parinama is tattvataha anyatha bhavaha is parinama. Okay? Now, the reason I mention this is that if you look at our entire Vedanta Shastra, all the examples given for you to follow are Vivartavada, not Parinamavada. Parinamavada is okay for Vyavaharika Sat. But when it comes to Paramarthika Sat, only Vivartavada is there. So this is another aid for us to think about as we understand the independence of myself. So you can see this now. Look at the example the Ishvara has given us through Swapnavastha. Swapnavastha is Vivarta, not Parinama. See? All the fundamental things are Vivarta. You become a dreamer without really losing your identity as a person. Similarly, once we understand the truth about ourselves, you will see that my status as a human being is Vivartavada. I am Brahman as an independent person who takes on the ability to be a human being, talk and so on, because that's how my background is. This is what I was brought up to it, without losing. Anyway, so we'll took it. There's quite a few other things to. Before we go to the number 28, I think we have some more things to talk about in number 27, which we will do that in the next week. So we'll allow some time for questions. Om Swasti Prajabhyav Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Go Brahmanebhya Shrimastu Nityam Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanyaha Prithvi Sasya Shalini Desho Yam Shobharahitaha Brahmana Santu Nirvayaha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukhabhag Bhavet Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityo Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Namah Hari Om. Yeah, right.
A question. I think I'm just trying to clarify in my mind. In the Karika, the explanation of verse 26, they give at the bottom, Pranava indeed is the lower Brahman, and Pranav likewise is the higher Brahman.
Mm-hmm.
This is the example you kind of gave, that the rose seen in two ways, or seen
Exactly.
color through your eyes
Yes.
and fragrance through your
Yeah.
nose, is how
So
you
it's
look
the
at it.
same Brahman,
Mhm.
but it can be seen as the Jagat Karanam, which is the life and how it evolves, what are the rules, and so on and so forth. But the same Brahman can be seen to be completely independent. So because the thing is, if you look at the nature of Brahman and Ishvara, this is a very, absolutely a beautiful, profound thing. That the whole creation is a non-creation. It appears as a creation, and it just like a dream. It has a sense of frightening you and making you this, that, or the other. But then, in the end, you are completely independent of it. So yes, exactly right. So the Apara Brahma has the ability to have a creation. And there, the understanding is in the beginning that there is no one in charge. This is why the adharma comes in. That I am the boss, you can do anything, I can do it, and I am responsible for my own thing. No. The first thing is to see, it's a gradual process, that in fact there is a structure, there is Ishvara. Things are happening according to certain laws. This is all the Apara Brahma. And so this is almost like a prelude to wakening up. But the full wakening up is there is no srishti, no nothing. Everything is, it's just I am an independent being. Yeah.
My confusion is when we keep using the word an independent being, are we not simply part of the Paramatma and not really independent?
No,
We're part of the whole.
I'm not using it that way. I mean what I'm saying. You're not part of anything.
You are.
You are everything. This has to be seen. The understanding of part of everything is just the beginning, just as in the beginning. The final thing is when it's partless. There's no question of parts. If there are parts, that is just a imposition. And at a certain level, you have parts. It's like saying the wave of an ocean. Is the ocean made up of parts? It is not. It is just water that appears as parts. So when a wave is told that you are partless, he says, I don't get it. I'm just thinking I'm right here and I see another wave who's threatening me there. Where's the partlessness? And he says, no, this is just your identity is being misplaced. If you look at yourself as the very content which is partless. This is why in the Kathopanishad says that you are smaller than the smallest and bigger than the biggest. So this is a very beautiful thing. This paradox is particularly given to overcome this. So the water is smaller than the smallest wave and bigger than the biggest wave because it is the content of both of them. Similarly, the Atma is there in your Sukha and your Dukkha, but it is neither Sukha nor Dukkha. It is something beyond, completely different. This has to be understood. It can be experienced also. Swami Paramarthananda was when he was explaining this Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which I think we're going to take up in the next class. There he says that a jnani, if something really bad happens to him, either it's in fact Swami Paramarthananda said this. So he says, there's an actual example. So they say that when Alexander conquered India, so Alexander had a Greek teacher that was saying, hey, the Indians are far ahead of us. So do what you want to, but when you go there, please make sure that you learn the essence of who you are from the teachers of India. This is written down. So Alexander went, he found out who is a Mahatma. So they are saying there's this guy who sits all day long on the banks of a river, and people just, he's supposed to be the best. So he says, okay, take me him. So he went to that. No, first he sent his army and said, bring him over here. He said, I am not going anywhere, okay? I am just sitting right here. So Alexander then finally goes to him and says, okay, I understand you're not coming to me, but you need to teach me all of this stuff. So he says, I'm not teaching you anything, okay? Go to hell. And so he said, do you know who I am? He said, I know. He says, I can kill you right now. He says, no, you can't. You can't. You'll never be able to do it. And he explained that a little bit. So Alexander finally said, wow, you really are. I am not quite sure I get it, but I get enough of what you're saying. So he says, what can I do for you? He says, nothing. Please get aside because you are casting a shadow on me and it is cold. I just want the sun. And this is the story. And Alexander went back. So, for a jnani, nothing will ever, because you can only deal with the body and mind, which is not me. You can't touch the Atma.
That is very similar to Shankara and Chandala story.
Chandala story, exactly, very similar to that. So, very nice that we had the Swamini for talks, and from your feedback you all liked her. So let us see, I've already written to her that it'll be good to have her over more regularly. So that's wonderful. And we have, as though our fortunes are not yet fully given, we have Swami Paramatmananda coming back. So Chawla, if you could kindly give everybody.
Yeah, the dates are April 15th through Friday, so those are morning Mundaka. Evening we will take the same 13th chapter values, he is just doing that. And weekend, Saturday, Sunday, morning to 2 class or 3 class, I don't know that, but that 2-day retreat will be on the Saturday and Sunday, 21st and 22nd.
So we'll have a similar thing as we did last time when he was here. We're very happy that he'll come back.
Drishya Viveka, he will take it further.
So we will have evening classes and also a retreat. We're still looking for a place for retreat, but it will be starting on April 15th, and we'll give you more information very shortly.
April 15th is the morning and evening classes, right?
Yes, yes, morning Mundaka, evening
Right, yeah,
Gita
morning
chapter.
also, yes. Okay, good, thank you.